Welcome back to Feeding the Soul podcast. We are joined today by a chef who I've been wanting to have her on the show for quite a while. Um, I mentioned to her before we started recording that my wife is a chef and her and I are Food Network junkies. And if you know me, you know that's true. But this is one of those chefs that I've really admired, especially on some of the shows, like when I first started getting into Food Network. And so, total honor to have her on the show. Thank you for joining us, Chef Falkner. Thank you very much.
My gosh, so nice to see you. So nice to be here.
Glad to have you. So, like I just said, I'm pumped to have you on the show. And as we always do on all these episodes, for those few people who may not know who you are, what you do, I can't imagine if you watch Food Network, there's many of you out there, but uh, let's do this. And I have start every guest out the same way. Think back to when you were younger and you like, oh, I wonder cooking might be fun, or I got a passion of getting in the kitchen, and all the way to today. And we're going to talk about some of the things you're working on today. And I know that that could be quite a bit of stories, but think of like the Cliff Notes version, 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll go off from there.
Sure. I mean, I grew up in Southern California, was born in San Francisco, but I went back to San Francisco in the late 80s to finish college. I started cooking in 1990. I had never really thought about being a chef, but I was working at Williams-Sonoma, the original store in San Francisco, part-time while I was finishing studying experimental film at San Francisco Art Institute. And I kind of just really quickly, being from LA, noticed that, celebrities here in Los Angeles, where I live today, um, there's celebrities everywhere. There's all kinds of musicians and actors and a lot of people in the business here in that. But when I went to the Bay Area back then, all of the celebrities were chefs. And so in Williams-Sonoma, people like Julia Child and Jack Rappan and lots of, food stylists and food photographers would come in all the time, and people that wrote cookbooks. So those were the sort of our San Francisco celebrities. And I just thought that was so fascinating. And then also I just like to cook. My mom is a really good cook. And it just kind of all sort of came together pretty much after college. But I mean, I started cooking a lot of things, while I was working at that store, and just kind of like investigating. I don't know, just I was really into making pâtés and terrines and things with pot au choux. And then I just quickly got a job after a couple different jobs in a little French bistro, and kind of started out pretty quickly there running, because the chef left a couple months later and they were like, you have a great palate and you can probably run this. So I ran this little kitchen that was full of French waiters and live jazz, and it was super cool. And this is way before Starbucks. So it's like the coffee culture was really hot in San Francisco, and people would come in and have big, cafe au lait and Apilco porcelain bowls, and we had a zinc bar, and it was just cool, and we all rode motorcycles and scooters, and it was like a really cool scene. And then I started staging in fine dining restaurants, and I got a job a year later at a restaurant called Massa's, which was the best restaurant of the time. It's like Le Bernardin of today. And from there, I went to work for Tracy Desjardins for a few years. We opened a Pan-Asian restaurant called Elka. We had another restaurant called Rubicon that was really hot. Larry Stone was our amazing master sommelier, and has tons of proteges. And, Tracy was the shit. I mean, she won a James Beard Award that year at 28 years old. It was just a great restaurant, backed by Francis Coppola, Robin Williams, and Robert De Niro, and it was Drew Neaporte, great restaurateur from New York. And then I was there for a few years, and then I opened up Citizen Cake, which became a huge hit right away. And Citizen Cake was originally, because I had been in pastry, Cafe Claude, I was kind of doing everything. Massa's, I went into pastry because that's what was open. But I had always cooked savory food as much as pastry. But then here I was already getting like a reputation as a really good pastry chef. So, and I came up with the name Citizen Cake. So that's where my big culinary start comes from, is that era of opening Citizen Cake and running that for 15 years. But when we moved to Hayes Valley, it was also a full restaurant and bar. But oftentimes the name Citizen Cake kind of haunts me, because people just think, oh, she made cakes or something. And my cake stuff was very different. It was like Frank Gehry meets David Lynch. It's very hard to explain because nobody makes cakes like that. They were just wild. And
I never would have thought those two names compared would be used to compare to describe cake.
But I'm telling you, it really was like that.
Oh, yeah.
They were like adventurous and architectural and really cool. And I loved being a very artistic person, breaking up the two-dimensional space of sort of a typical cake. They were always very symmetrical, and I loved playing with the geometry and stuff. But so I had that and I opened another restaurant called Orson in 2008. 3 years after the stock market crash, I had to kind of shut everything down in San Francisco. It was very
Mhm.
expensive to operate there. I moved to New York. I had won a pizza competition in Naples, Italy, and then just opened a pizzeria in Brooklyn and then opened a restaurant for another family in New York on the Upper West Side. Then I just stopped working in restaurants for a while and did a lot of consulting over like about 10 years there. And then I moved back here during the pandemic. I've made a documentary film. I have a spirits company now with my partner, and it's called Tomorrow. T apostrophe MARO. We make everything with dates made for today and tomorrow. There's a lot of sustainability around the whole brand. And I've done a lot of Food Network stuff in between all that, and
Okay,
Bravo and everything else.
that there was so I'm trying to like, okay, let's talk about
That
there's a lot
that
of
is
things
my short version.
that was well, there's a lot. So I knew about the Tomorrow brand, which I already scoped out my bottle on Bevmo, and it's as soon as
Cool.
I get back from this trip, I'm gonna buy some. But it's very cool because I was reading about it, and it's uh obviously made with dates, but no sugar added, no artificial this, that, or anything.
Yep.
And the like the Lebanese half of me was like, ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
immediately I'm gonna give me a bottle of that. And there I saw this quite a bit of variety on the site too. There's a number of different bottles on there. So I may have to
Yes.
work my way through the site. I did. You mentioned okay, starting. It was almost like a movie that you're talking about. Started at Williams Sonoma, the original store, and then I started a bistro, and they just gave it to me, and I ran it, and now I'm like famous for cakes, but I like savory, and I won a pizza competition, not anywhere in Naples. Like this is a script in Hollywood. This is fantastic. So all these things were like professional, right? So it's a business, a restaurant you work in, competition. When you're home by yourself, though, what do you have? Like, you get all excited to cook something. But is it savory or even specifics? Like you just love cooking blank.
Well, I really love cooking a lot of things. I mean, that's really the truth. I've never
Okay.
been a sort of like, this is my thing. Um, because I really don't, then the reason is because I really just don't like to get sort of trapped. I don't like being pigeonholed or I really just don't like the feeling of being like I'm stuck doing this one thing. Or I'm just stuck here. I can't be in that place. And I know that about myself. And I also feel like it used to be like, I feel like somebody's asked me this question before in a different time. And I've thought if there's something I'm like, don't like, or I'm scared of, or something's like, why am I procrastinating making that thing? It's because I, I haven't mastered it yet, or I haven't really taken it on enough, or I haven't really made it, fine tuned it enough. So there's something about that challenge that I really like. It's like, oh, I haven't made that for years. And like, like how to get that perfect emulsification again or something, you know what I mean? Like and also it's alive. It's always changing. So, but I do love making doughs of all different kinds.
Okay.
So I do love making like bread dough and pizza dough, and I'm always working on, a slightly different texture depending on whatever I'm feeling. And same with pasta and noodles. And like I like Italian pasta, but I love making all kinds of Asian noodles and dumplings and stuff like that. And there's just so much in that world. And, it's not just wheat flour. There's like a million starches, that's so fun to explore and just to make it like there's nothing like making steamed rice noodle like Cantonese style or Thai, wide rice noodles and making your own pad see or whatever with your noodles. I mean, it's just like, oh my god, it's better than ever,
Experimenting and being creative. So you talked about when you feel. I'm paraphrasing here when you don't necessarily feel confident about a certain dish or whatever it is, you're thinking like, I haven't made that in a while. It inspires you to just jump right in, sort
Yes,
of
which is kind of why
build
I
up
think
that
I took
confidence.
on
Yeah.
pastry too, because pastry is so intimidating to so many people, including chefs. And I'm somebody who said, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna tackle that. And it's almost like an athletic personality trait. I
I
want
was
to
thinking that.
master
Yeah.
that game. I want to play that game and or that sport, and it's involving science and art and being fit, and I like all those kind of things, and meaning like fit mentally and physically
Yeah.
to do something. And pastry is really like the long game, because it's not like you just whip up something, especially in plated dessert. There's so many components going on. It's all about temperatures coming together at the right moment. It has to be very precise. And you've got crunchy things and melting things and hot things next to cold things. And like fried ice cream is a good example. Like it's just like, wow, that how does that, it's magic. How does that happen? So that's the kind
As
of
a
stuff
non-chef, I
love,
still don't know how that works. I just know it's good.
right? But the technologies are all there. They're even better today. So
Yeah. I
things like
think
liquid nitrogen can help a lot.
the way you're talking right now, the word that's coming to mind listening to you is confidence. Like it's either you have confidence making something or you don't yet, and I'm going to make sure I have that confidence. There's no shying away. Which I was kind of giggling while you were talking. I was thinking back when we used to watch some of the shows when we first started watching Food Network, and I didn't know one chef from another, so I was learning all these different. And then you were on a couple different ones, and I always used the same. And we can curse on this podcast. Like she's a badass. Like I don't know what she specializes in, but that woman is a badass, and that's I think that badass attitude is what you're describing here. Like, I'm going to, whatever I take on, pastries, I'm going to go do a pizza competition, I'm going to kick ass.
And I can look back and say, I can name off like 20 chefs that have been around since I first started cooking that are so badass and running kitchens properly and professionally and have been leaders in the industry this whole time. Being in Italy for a long time recently, I got to stay with the family for 10 days after my ankle surgery there and this crazy accident. And the mother, like in a lot of Italian families, cooks for the family every day, lunch, a big lunch. And she's from Puglia originally. So, we would sit down and have very Apulian pastas and other dishes. And the style of dining is where you get pasta up front, and then you might get a little bit of a secondi situation with a pasta, I mean, a meat of some sort and some vegetables, but really like simple. And then salad afterwards, have a glass of wine with lunch. That's about it. Like it's not like a party all day kind of thing. And then, have an espresso and go do some more things. So that was, I look at Italian kitchens and I think, my God, like women really do run the kitchens in home and in restaurants there still quite often. Sure, there's lots of great Italian male chefs too, but
Yeah.
I think that the food and the culture of the food there is still very much dominated by women. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
probably
mean,
the same in Mexican cuisine. I mean, I think so. I think it's very like a lot of the Latin cuisines.
I was just talking to someone last month about that, where it feels like kitchens are dominated by women in cultures where it tends to be matriarchal culturally, whether like Mediterranean, Latin. I mean, I was telling you earlier, like growing up half Sicilian, half Arabic, like the mom ran the show no matter
Oh
where
yeah,
you were, kitchen, any room of the house, right? And
yeah.
so, yeah, but that cuisine, those traditions and recipes don't get passed down through dad or an uncle. It's always mom. It's always grandma. In fact, my
And
mom's side of the
especially when
family,
you say that data is hard to just translate.
yeah,
On videos or in books and stuff. But when you have somebody, when you're really truly passing it down by watching somebody making things, that's the most important data. That special
Yep.
time of
My grandma
year
was a
touch.
stellar cook and
Yeah.
she didn't write anything. There's no recipe book. There's nothing. It's you go watch her and she'll show you how to do it. And that's it.
And it depends on the time of year because lemons are a different flavor at different times of the year, and just as everything.
It's funny you said that because we were both being in Italy recently and in America, we're used to getting, we'll put in air quotes, tomatoes year round, but they don't necessarily taste like a tomato. But there's tomato season, there's lemon season. There's times you get it and they taste a certain way. And then there's times of the year that you don't because most Italians would rather just not have it than eat something that just tastes like water and looks
Yeah.
like a tomato.
And it's like, I know it's same in Austria. I was in Austria for a month before this Italian side of my trip this year. And you can go to supermarkets in both of those countries, but they're not as many. And really people definitely eat more, like even in the different regions of Italy, it's like they don't even make the pasta that's made, an hour or 2 hours away. It's not the same. They have their own regional dishes and they have produce that's from there. They're not moving product. I mean, of course they do bring like lemons
Yeah.
from Sicily up north, or Spain or whatever, but like it's, predominantly even the dishes there don't have stuff that's product that's been moved from
Yeah.
one part to the next. So you like, I mean, Austria is a good example too. Now that region has not always been Austria. It's been lots of different, empires over time, but the food stuff there doesn't have a lot of citrus. Well, I'm from California, so I'm always wanting like citrus I'm always want lemon in my stuff. But they do have, a lot of history of different vinegars. And so that exists in their cuisine. And
Okay.
you would not, it's very strange to put lemon into their food because it just doesn't, it's not, it just hasn't
Right.
been growing there. So of course people are not used to it either. I mean, it's not like people don't travel and don't want different things, but I think that's so wild because it really just shows like when a culture of people has been in a long place for a long time and those recipes are there, it doesn't, I mean, you might have somebody's moved from another country into this place and they make their own version of Thai food here, let's say. But you'll find it's not so much trying to adapt to the palates of the people. It's like, well, what's available here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned regionally the the distance is very, very small. Like when we were both in Piedmont at the same time, there were what's that pasta dish? The pinched
Agnolotti?
a pleen. There were
Agnolotti di Plin? Yeah.
That's like, yeah. So I'd never heard of that. I've been to Italy many times, but I hadn't been to that. Not even just Piedmont, that part of Piedmont, and they're very, very proud of it. They've been making it for, like you said, generations. And you could ask anywhere else in Italy, and you wouldn't even be able to find anything like that. But it's such a
That's
small
right.
region. I'm thinking like you're talking about San Francisco. That's the size wise. It'd be like, okay, the Bay Area has a dish that you can't find anywhere else. That doesn't click with Americans. Like, sure, a chain restaurant will pick it up and it'll be all over the country. That's sort of like
Right.
the American norm, right? So it's a strange concept, but once you get into it, you love it because you can just do a food tour and taste all this stuff in the course of a day or two.
Well, I mean, San Francisco does have a very unique climate. So, really
Yeah,
like
yeah. That was probably a bad example, wasn't
the
it?
bread is a good example of something in San Francisco that's very unique to San Francisco because, I make bread here and you can buy sourdough bread here too, but because you can control the environment. But that's very specific yeast and climate of San Francisco makes a very unique, bread dough.
Yeah, San Francisco. I learned that as a Detroiter moving to California. San Francisco is very unique compared to the areas around it. I never forget the first time I drove from the Central Valley when it was 109 to San Francisco in
Oh, I know.
67. Like, what just happened? I'd never seen that before. Okay, so I think similar to what we were just talking about, might not be a bad segue. Every episode, we want to make sure, yes, we've talked about food and we could go down the rabbit hole of Italian cuisine all day. But the point of this podcast is to focus on something that's near and dear to your heart. That was kind of cool because I asked you ahead of time, like, what's one charity or cause, and you named two. So I'm going to let you talk about the two, how they're connected, and actually how it ties in a little bit to a little bit the discussion we just had. So, what are the
Yeah.
two that you want to talk about?
Well, I would love to talk with you about the James Beard Foundation because it's an organization that I've really been involved with for a long time, but more recently on the board of trustees and chair of the awards committee. But when I first started cooking, I remember it was like the first year of the James Beard Awards. I didn't know back then that that was like the first year of the James Beard Awards, but I just had heard about that this is an organization that supports chefs and that I should check it out or something. Probably some other cook told me about it. And so I remember paying attention to the little book that would come out every year and if you were going to a different city, here's people that are part of the organization. And then, you started to learn about who was cooking at the Beard House. I did cook at the James Beard House
Mm,
many years ago, and I've done it I've probably cooked there at least a dozen times. But back then, the first time I was there, I had kind of thrown myself at one of my mentor chefs, Mary Check, and she had cooked. She was the corporate pastry chef of Let Us Entertain You at some point, and I had done a bunch. She taught me how to do so many things, and she was doing like a trio at Trio. It was like Gail Gand and Rick Tramato and Mary at the Beard House, and so I just was like, I would go anywhere with her and, get myself a plane ticket and figure it out. And we would just wake up at the crack of dawn and start working on this insane plate that we were going to do of stuff. And then I think I had to make the plates out of sugar. So, I mean, I had to make the plates
actual plate.
at another restaurant and bring them over in foil, because we didn't even have
Oh
all
Lord.
still pads back then. So, but anyway, so it was. wildly fun time in the food world. But the James Beard house was crazy to cook in back in those days. And then, it had went through a few remodels. The whole organization has gone through so much change in my whole career. And like 5 years ago, we did a really big or before I was actually on the board, they did a really big audit. And I would say that I'm really proud of the James Beard Foundation today. We have so so much more work. I mean, the James Beard Awards are super fun. I mean, it is the most glamorous night for chefs. It's like, our Oscars. It's very focused on the United States of America. It's like the awards are just so fantastically celebrating every corner of this country and every kind of immigrant, ethnicity, cuisine. I mean, it's unreal. It's so cool. We do all these events all year at across America. We have like Taste America. We have several different events in different cities, small and large. And then we also have Pier 57 in New York, which is kind of like our new James Beard house because it's not an old townhouse. It's kind of run down. It's a fantastic state of the art kitchen. It's like on one of the piers, so it's very close to Chelsea Market, where Food
Okay.
Network used to live. And it's got a whole hall of curated food stalls and stuff, and there's like a Sahadi's, which is this amazing spice shop that used to be down the
Mm,
street from me when I lived in Brooklyn. And I mean, it's just a really cool place. And then we've got this really cool platform kitchen, and we do events there like we did at the Beard House. And it's cool because chefs come like they used to, all from all over the country and sometimes other countries to cook there. And it's not as much of an ask on the chefs to cook in that kitchen compared to what it used to be in this very tiny
yeah.
old New York townhouse kitchen, that used to be James Beard's kitchen. So, I mean, we still have the Beard House. We're still working on its next iteration, but I think that the platform is super cool. And also, we do so much. Like I've gone to DC for some food policy work, and I think that our whole motto is "Good food for good," and I just I we have and like I said, we've got so many other programs that we spend most of the year really working on. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that work on the awards. And like I said, I'm the chair of the awards. So I spend most of my committee time with the awards committee. But it's like, that's also really amazing. We've got lots of volunteers. We've got
Sure.
staff at the Beard Foundation, and everybody's working really hard to just really show what we're doing with food, who farmer wise, chef wise, what people that are doing great things in better food for people, meaning like organic farming, sustainable
Sure.
farming, like all that. We're looking at all of that. We have to fight politics sometimes with
I
where the
imagine.
money goes, SNAP, all that stuff it's all this is really
Yeah.
important critical times for us to be looking at what in the world we're growing and eating and how we're taking care of ourselves or not.
I, I honestly had no idea you chaired the awards. Like that is so cool. That is so cool. Um, I may even just cut this out of the episode, but I gotta ask because I was having
Yeah.
debate with people around here. Um, if I'm a chef, I have a restaurant, I'm really trying to get my name out there and trying to take it to the next level. I can, if I win a James Beard Award, like that's boom. It's a big deal when people are putting on their resume that they were a semi-finalist. Like, there's not
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of like awards out there or athletic events or like I almost sort of won, and that like that's something. It's got to be a big deal, right?
It's a big deal to
Separate
just
from
be nominated.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, it's a really
Separate from
big
that
deal
is
to
the Michelin star. Like as a non-chef, like if I'm a chef, like what's the difference? I'm not talking about like importance level. I'm talking about like the different focus for each. For those
100%.
who maybe don't,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I think I can help you understand that. So Michelin is a really different filter or system, and it is global. So it's not just
sure,
focused on this country. Um, and to get a star means you're doing a certain level of dining, 2 stars and 3 stars, different style. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's so fun. I think getting a Michelin star is a really big deal. And or however, if you want to go to 3 and that's the kind of style of restaurant you want to do, great. James Beard Foundation is very different that way. We look at all kinds of restaurants, um, not sticking to like our own filter. It's sort of like you could be doing a very small mom and pop kind of restaurant and get a James Beard Award for that and be nominated for it. It's also a nomination process. So it's not like we have special people going around, hidden,
okay, okay,
picking things out. So anybody can nominate anybody, anywhere. So it's an open call. nomination process.
Okay.
And then, and that's really the key difference right there. It's then you're like, if you, I've had this conversation with other chefs who didn't even understand I would say 40 years ago, it was very different. Today, very different. Um,
Okay.
that used to be a little bit more like if you won an award, you could sort of nominate people. So it was very insider in a lot of ways. It is not like
Okay.
that now. And if you, like I had another chef actually in the Bay Area ask me one time, that they were like, I feel like some people should be, like if we won an award, then how do my chefs get awards? I'm like, well, you can nominate them. So, and they had no idea. So,
Right.
anybody, and you could be like, this is the best donut shop in wherever corner of the United States in Fresno, and people need to know about it. I'm going to nominate them as the best bakery. Okay, you can do that. It's going to go through how many people, how many nominations
Sure.
did this
Sure.
place get, and then should we send some people to taste and all that kind of stuff. So there is a whole process to filter down to the finalists. And then none of us even know. I don't know any of the final. I never know anybody who's being nominated along the way. Nor do I run around trying to nominate a bunch of people all the time because that just wouldn't be right.
Right. You have to
For
stay
what I'm doing.
separate yourself from all that. Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
But there's tons of I know there's tons of great restaurants in this country, and that's what's been so exciting for me too, is just to see like, hey, we're not just talking about LA and New York and San Francisco and Chicago. We're talking about small places that win now in Maine and Oklahoma and, Idaho and Hawaii. It's really, Alaska. We had like lots of people from Alaska nominated last year. So I think that's what's so interesting about where we're at with all this.
I appreciate that because I couldn't even speak to the conversation because I was talking to someone who's like, well, a chef really, yes, both are good, but if I'm a chef, the James Beard is like a whole different level. Yes, there's Michelin star, but you've like hit the top of the mountain when you start getting nominated for a James Beard, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not. So when you said you chaired the awards, I'm like, I gotta ask her now. Okay, so
Well, it's such
appreciate
a
that.
big deal. I mean, it really does. Even when you're like, I'm somebody who was a finalist for a James Beard Award in 2005 for Outstanding
Okay,
Pastry Chef. And I did not win the award, but I mean, it's always been, I was one of five people. There were only in pastry in 2005, there was only one award. So not
okay,
like all the states have best chef,
yeah, yeah,
all the regions have the best chef. So like, we have a lot of awards for chefs, but for pastry chef at the time, there were only five people a year that could get nominated. So for me, that was huge.
yeah.
And then I also like it's always carried through in all of my conversations with people. Like people are like, "Oh, you were a James Beard nominee." I mean, a lot of people honestly think that I have a James Beard award or that I'm an Iron Chef just because I've been in both. So
It's fun. No,
it
and
does carry. It's very helpful,
yeah,
and and people that win, now we have a new plaque too that people can put on their restaurant because it used to, you still get your award thing, but now you can put this plaque up there, which is cool. So you can have Michelin stars and James Beard awards even.
I feel like I learned so much because it used to be you just heard the name and it made someone like me go ooh, and they could ask me why'd you go ooh? I don't know. I just heard James Beard ooh, like
They must be
I
good.
knew it was a big deal.
Yeah.
That's So there's another organization though regarding her that we talked about. You mentioned earlier. So talk about like the focus of that, but how it connects with like the overall mission
Yeah, I mean,
of James Beard.
I'm a chef who's been interested in, not interest, but actively involved in food making decisions that we have to deal with on a day to day basis. Like, why, I go to the farmer's market. I want to buy food that I know is super fresh.
Yeah.
Certainly isn't going to be some lettuce that I'm scared of what's going to affect its going to.
How's that for a timely story?
Um, no, I really want to know like that it's super fresh and that, I love knowing the farmers or just at least recognizing them and what's in season wherever. I've lived on the East Coast too, and I love the green market in New York. It's amazing during the summer because you've been in months of winter cold eating beets and rutabaga and kale for
Yeah.
a long time. So I've learned to appreciate it even more. Um, and so I'm interested in all of this, like what we're doing with food, and also being a female chef. Obviously, I'm hyper concerned about like women getting more the funding that they need, the notoriety that they deserve, the customers to get butts and seats because I am somebody who's owned and operated restaurants, and all of that stuff is extremely important to me. I want to support female chefs or people up and coming in it. I want to support people that are doing good things, not just women. But I have to be focused on females in the business because I am female, and I've also been mentored and supported by a lot of female chefs around me all the time too. So it's kind of part of that.
Sure.
Regarding her is another great organization, and this is what the person we should to be talking about is Mary Sue Milliken, because she's been on the board of James Beard Foundation. I think she's about to roll off, but she is one of the original founders of Women Chefs and Restaurateurs that I mentioned earlier, that I used to be the president of, but is no longer a nonprofit. And she and a couple of the people started regarding her, and I would say for the same reasons that I'm talking about, because it's about supporting women up and coming in the business, people that have their own restaurants or food and beverage business, and continuing education is part of that. Merely just getting the attention, putting a spotlight on women in the business and helping them grow. So that's a really, both of these are very connected to me because it's being, a female in the food business. It's hard because chefs are always part of so many different fundraising endeavors, and nonprofits come to us all the time to help, do events. I
Sure.
also really
Yeah.
believe in No Kid Hungry and Chef Cycle. And I would say that, that's
Talked
another
about
really
that quite a
important.
bit on this podcast. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's another really important charity because, I mean, food and nutrition for kids is everything. And, you can't really do much unless you have food and water. And and what that
Yeah.
food is super important, like how it's made, it's not over processed, um,
It's
not
amazing the
processed,
difference that
period.
makes. It's not even a matter of having food or not, but the kind of food you have. I mean, speaking of Chef Cycle, when I talked with Chef Krista, and we were talking
Yeah.
about um, like the incredible difference it makes, because I taught high school for decades, and you want to talk about positive and negative behaviors in the classroom and throughout the day. The
Yeah.
number one tell was, did that student eat breakfast? That's it. Like everything else came secondary to that. Even if stuff was rough at home, like if they came and they knew they were going to be given a decent breakfast and someone who cared about, they're tough.
That
Kids are
makes
tough.
all the difference.
But
Yeah.
if you don't even eat in the morning, the last thing maybe you had was flaming hot Cheetos the night before, and that I'm only bringing it up because that was very common. I mean, you're kind of doomed the rest of that day, and to do that to an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, that's just heartbreaking. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
could not agree more with what you're talking about.
yeah, and these nonprofits really help, but it's also why I'm interested. I mean, I'm interested in all these things because I mean, if I, as a chef person, I have a responsibility to, well, to really try to help people
Yep.
in the world, and because of that, I have to try to help, people understand soil and how to grow things and how to not grow toxic things. Because I was on during COVID, I was on these Zoom calls, like a lot of us,
Yeah.
Zoom meetings that I joined this group of food scientists that were talking about how potatoes and peppers and grapes have become more toxic than they are nutritious in this country, and that's a fact. Yeah, from non-organic food. I mean, like, it's just crazy to me that most of the food in the grocery store is not organic. I mean, it's just, I don't know
Yeah.
what in the world we think we're doing.
My wife got one of those hydroponic, like made out of pipes, like wall gardens, right, for the house. I'm like, honey, we live in California, grow it out there. When she started growing arugula, spinach, and some of the things, she made the first salad, and I'm like, come on, what's the big deal? Why spend all this money? It blew my freaking mind. Like
Yeah,
this,
that's the other
this
thing. It actually
arugula
tastes
tastes
better.
completely different. How different? It has taste. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and so now, like, I don't want to go to the grocery store and get a bag of arugula that just tastes like crunchy water. And like
I
you
mean,
said,
I'm going to
now
go back to, somebody who is extremely important in our country that's been having this dialogue since, before I started cooking, and that's Alice Waters. I mean, she's been talking about it. She is not a broken record. She is talking about the same concern that she's had this whole time since the 60s. And so, like, this is crazy to me. I mean, sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, but we're still having the same conversation, like as if it's brand new, that Alice has been talking about since I was born.
yeah,
And so this is crazy. Like, and you go to Chez Panisse or Lulu or do make us something out of one of her books, and you're like, this is so simple, and you're like, but it's not, because it's really about sourcing the ingredients, like Italian cooking, like southern France cooking, like a lot of cuisines. Just if you keep it simple and it's clean, great ingredients, you might only need 3 or 4 ingredients, and you're going to make something that blows your mind.
When the
I mean,
ingredient you use
it could
actually
just be
tastes really good,
carrots,
you
and
don't
if
need to
the
put a bunch
carrots
of
are
crap
really
on it.
good, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
This sounds like when we just logged on. We were talking about the same stuff over in Italy. No, but it is so true, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the vast majority of people I talk to on this podcast, even if we're talking about a completely different, we somehow end on at least a little bit end up on this topic where food freshness, food safety, the right for people to have access to it no matter where you live. I mean, this we could go down a whole rabbit hole of large urban centers and food deserts, and like that's a whole nother thing where I used to teach when the only access
Yeah,
you had was those flaming hot Cheetos.
yeah.
Yeah. So I thank you so much for bringing that up, because like it's been a few episodes since I talked, so it refocused me now. I got to go talk to Chef Cycle and James. Can reach out to. If only I knew someone at James Beard. But yes, we are sort of blessed living in California in that while there's still large corporate farms and there's still a lot of things going on in our soil that we hope wouldn't, compared to a lot of other places, we are kind of blessed in the variety we have, and it
The
isn't everywhere,
climate.
but we do have access to climate and we have the soil. We can
I mean, we
easily do
do
what you're
right
talking about.
now. Yeah, we do right
Yeah,
now.
now, knock on wood.
Um, right, but it is a changing environment here too. I mean,
Sure.
because where you live is super hot, like it's just getting hotter.
It's 107 today.
Yeah, and then so and we know that all of this ice melting and having an effect on the oceans, which affects the atmosphere, which affects the rainfall and the storms and stuff. It's changing. I mean, we have parts of Southern California have become subtropical too, so there are more places you can grow bananas here. So that
Sure.
seems exciting, but it's also kind of like, oh gosh, well, a lot of stuff is going to change in what we can grow over time. And also, if we don't replenish the soil and think about how we're farming, then it won't be the great state of California um, in the same way.
Right. And how's this for an artificial tie-in? The dates that you guys use are from Southern
Yes.
California, right? Coachella Valley, I think I read. Did I read that right?
Yeah. We do. We make well, Heather and I were having this conversation about 4 years ago. Um, because I'm somebody who's used dates a lot in cooking, and we're both from Southern California. We were talking about amari, and meaning the plural of amaro. And for anybody who doesn't know what amaro is, it's a bitter aperitivo or a digestivo, and so something you might have after dinner. But in fact, a lot of bartenders around the world are using amari in cocktails more and more. Because that little bit of bitterness with other botanicals is, interesting in cocktails, and like a paper plane is a good example. Use amaro in that delicious cocktail. And so we were talking about like how a lot of amari are kind of too bitter and too sweet. I mean, the recipes originally have evolved. The amari are really like old tinctures and mixtures that people would use as medicine in older times. And so fast forward, now we use them in cocktails. We might have it as a digestivo, something to have after dinner. It's always it's wine or spirit based, sugar added, and herbs, barks, botanicals, like the medicine, and in the mixture, make you feel better. And so I was like saying, it would be nice if we actually use dates as the sweetener. And so Heather and I just went down this path of like, well, that nobody's really doing that. She has worked in alcohol beverage for her whole career. So here I've been a chef, and I've also worked in food and beverage consulting with different brands and stuff over years. And so we just kind of like came up with this I made a bunch of different concoctions. We tasted them with other people. We kind of came down to this one formula. Meanwhile, I was like, why are we using like neutral grain spirit or grape spirit? Doesn't anybody make a date spirit? Like if we're going to go to all this effort to sweeten only with dates and no sugar, why wouldn't we use date spirit? So we did a lot of research. Nobody's making that. I figured out how to ferment date mash, and then we made a a spirit from it, an eau de vie, or otherwise known as a brandy, and that's actually quite delicious. It's like, I was just in Austria studying more distilling, and this fifth and sixth generation owned distillery does a lot of different spirits. So it's really interesting when you get into tasting different spirits. I don't think a lot of people. I mean, I know this now that a lot of people don't know much about the actual spirit itself. But think about, like, tequila is a spirit of agave.
Right.
Brandy we typically think of as grapes, especially being in California with our huge grape wine industry. But brandy also is very old world. People have been making brandies from all different kinds of fruits, from pears or apples. Apple brandy used to be very popular in the United States a long time ago, and that even more popular than grapes. So, and then also things like rum made from sugar cane. Um, Vodka can come from grains or
Potatoes are, yeah.
potatoes, yeah. And then when we make whiskey, it's because we're making a grain, corn, sometimes a mixture, bourbon, um, mash, and fermenting and distilling that, and then it's aged in barrels. So that's, like, people don't understand the whole, like, where does the brown come from? Well, it's coming from aging, and
Sure.
sometimes caramel color, which is something that I don't like the taste of. Caramel color is made from burning sugar, so it actually is quite acrid, and I can kind of taste it in a lot of things in the world, and it's in a lot of spirit liqueurs and stuff too. So I just am not fond of that flavor. And I was like, it's so crazy to me. Why don't people use dates? They're already brown. They're already cooked by the sun. So this is how it
Yeah.
came to be. So we make the brandy, otherwise known as eau de vie, means water of life, and we make amaro. It's tomorrow amaro. The word, and we also make a cacao nib liqueur, which is quite special, and it's
I saw
made
that, and
with.
the Bevmo near my house has it. So tell us about.
It's really good. We
That's
make
going to
that
be my first
also.
purchase.
Yeah, we make that with our date spirit, and also it's only date sweetened, and it's made with single origin cocoa nibs from Ecuador. So it's a very special chocolate liqueur because it's not trying to taste like a candy bar, like a lot of chocolate liqueurs kind of just taste like
Yeah.
they want to be like a candy bar. It's not thickened or anything like that. There are chocolate liqueur, like a lot of people, want it to taste like a chocolate cake. I don't want it to taste like
I
chocolate cake.
don't.
I want it to
No, I
taste like
can't.
cocoa
2 sips of that,
nibs.
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, and dates. And the beauty is that the dates are a really beautiful sweetener and actually work really well in other cocktails with other spirits. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples with the cacao nib liqueur. If you like espresso martinis, like most of the world still does, it's really fun to make it mocha and do like half coffee and half cacao nib, or just make it a chocolate one because that's really delicious. It's also great in a carajillo, a trending
Oh,
cocktail that's been around for a long time because it's just basically a pick me up coffee. Um,
it's fantastic.
in Italy, they call it a corretto,
Right.
And then also, like, the amaro is so special. It's only made with pure botanicals, no extracts. So it has a lot of citrus because we grow so much beautiful citrus here in Southern California.
Sure.
And it has three different kinds of citrus. It has artichokes. It has lots of fennel notes because when I drive in California, especially in Northern California, there's so much wild fennel. I mean, it's kind of like, it's all by the freeways and highways and stuff.
Yeah.
So I love that smell of fennel, and I wanted a lot of that licoricey kind of fennel taste in there. And then, yeah, it's just really, it's definitely a nod to Southern Italian Amari, but it has very much a California trip around California kind of expression.
It's killing me that it's still the middle of the day and I'm not near my home bar where I can go. Because the way you talk about it, no, but seriously though, well, first let me just point out, folks, the opposite of a celebrity slapping their name on a label and calling it a day, and not, she actually is making it herself. Like, so total opposite of that. Second,
This is true.
listening to someone who has been doing this their whole life, working with ingredients, pairing ingredients, talk about it is very different than, I like this because it tastes like blank, and then that's it. You're talking about the different individual botanicals and how they pair, like that just makes me want to pour a glass. So
Mhm.
I'm a little bummed I can't do that right now. But a few hours from now, you may be getting a selfie of me with something.
That's good. Well, I was going to tell you too that the name tomorrow comes from the root word tamar, which means date and date palm in ancient languages.
Oh, okay. I didn't
So
know
it's a
that.
play on words as well. It's made today for today and tomorrow. We also make our labels from upcycled palm that was headed to landfill. So we go to
Oh,
this
that's cool.
sort of insane extra effort to make these beautiful labels, which are very tactile and like think of like handmade paper. So it's like it is like that. And uh, we only use cork, 100% cork, because there's a lot of stoppers now that have plastic in it. And I'm really just very, like I said, I'm concerned about what we're doing with food and beverage and plastic in this world, and I don't like it. So we're just not going to do that. We're going to do every
Yeah.
possible thing that we can do to make both the inside, the beverage inside, and the outside of smart.
Well, it sounds like top to bottom, from the actual liqueur itself to the label. You're doing everything in your mind the right way. We're going to do this right from top to bottom. So by the time this episode airs, I'm sure people have already seen me blasting pictures of myself enjoying this. So those folks, all those pictures you've seen, this is what we're talking about.
I
I'm
was
gonna
going to
try
tell you
the.
too that the Amaro. So you want to try this because it's hot where you are. It's really good. I just made this last week, and we went to a World Cup pool party, and so we made our
Oh,
tamar. No, no, no. We made some margaritas with our tacos. So we had so it's basically think like I mean we have recipes on our website, so anybody can go there and pick that
oh,
up.
okay,
But
okay,
I like it with our brandy too, but you can make it with just tequila. So I like to use like 2 ounces of spirit. So if I'm going to use an ounce of tequila, I like a white tequila, a clear one, and I like to use our eau de vie, but I could use 2 ounces of tequila. So I'm going to try to make it simple for you. You can go buy 2 bottles today, or you can buy just the Amaro. But if you use instead of using the orange liqueur or triple sec or Grand Marnier, whatever, which is pretty typical in a
yeah,
margarita. I use the Amaro. So the Amaro is going to add some sweetness and a lot of orange flavor, plus the other spices and botanicals in there, because that's what makes it more interesting. So you've
sure.
got your 2 ounces of spirit. Let's just say it's tequila, or it's 1 and 1 of our spirit and the tequila, and 1 ounce of our Amaro, and then 3/4 ounce of lime juice, whatever you like, however like tart you like it. And you could also add like a bar spoonful of date syrup, or you could use agave or simple syrup. They all work fine. Like it's not like we don't are not eating sugar here or something. We do still
Right.
use it, but differently, because the date is a much rounder, softer, um,
Not blast you in the face
caramelized
sweetness.
already. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful sweetener. So and it really helps round out that any cocktail, honestly. So, but that's called a margarita. It's pretty delicious.
You're talking soccer. You're talking grilling tacos. You're talking in the pool. This is exactly, except for the awesome drink, this is exactly what I was doing watching World Cup in my pool with my iPad watching it. So, but I didn't have a drink that good, so now I got to step up my game. Uh,
And you can
okay,
also
so,
so just so people know, you can also buy our we just got this on our website recently, but we you can buy our all of our spirits on our website directly.
oh,
Like we have,
directly.
yeah,
Okay, so I don't have
yeah.
to go hunt it down,
So you
and it's
can,
shipped right
yeah,
to your
a
house,
lot of
folks.
stores are carrying it. Like we have it in Whole Foods now. We have it at Bevmo, like and we have it in some specialty shops. And I mean, we haven't actually have it in a lot of places in this state and in Nevada and Arizona and Louisiana and New York and New Jersey now, soon Illinois. But you can buy it on our website and they'll ship it to you.
Well, the website's going to be right here on this episode, so folks, just click on that, get yourself a bottle.
I think Heather has a code for me to give you guys a discount too. You want that?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, ooh,
That right
yeah.
there. I want to put
It's
that right in the. It'll be in the
it's
comments, folks. Right there in the comments.
Date Amaro. So capital DATE, capital AMARO. And you get $5
Oh,
off.
dude, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, okay. Put a mental pin in what we were just talking about, because we always end episodes with the lightning round. But I am so glad. I don't even know why I did this. I changed up one of the questions to make it a little bit more adult beverage focused. And so
Okay.
this is going to fit in perfectly. So, uh, like I said before, we end with 5 quick questions. It's going to start super lighthearted and get a little bit deeper as we go on, but I don't want you to overthink. It's not meant to be stressful. Okay, first and foremost, sweet or savory?
Savory.
You gave it a little thought, but okay, okay. And
Well,
based on what you said earlier, that does
I
make
have been a
sense.
judge on TV before. You're supposed to hold your breath for a second.
I can always edit that pause out. You know. What is always in your home fridge?
Lemons.
Okay, so follow up. Once in a while, I'll just throw in a follow up. Your favorite dish to make with lemons as a main ingredient, not as something that you use like to add a little oomph to it.
Well, yeah, because there's kind of like a lot,
Yeah, you
but
can put lemon in everything, right?
I do love. I don't. Well, I okay. So probably that's impossible because it changes throughout the year. But like, I do make a like a raw, like a zucchini carpaccio, just shaved raw zucchini with lemon zest all over it, and lemon juice, and olive oil, and salt and pepper, and maybe some pine nuts and basil.
So somewhere, my wife is not knowing why she's thinking, Dino, that was a stupid question, because never ask a chef what's your favorite dish. As you said, it's different time of year, ingredients I
Yeah.
have, mood I'm in. I thank you for answering it anyway. I appreciate that, but that was a horrible question. I will do better on my next one, and the next one is
Well, it's a tough one because I like lemon I love it in roasted chicken, so I use a lot of lemon in
yeah.
slices and stuff in roasted chicken. I mean, it's like it's an ingredient that you've got it kind of can use in a lot of ways.
I know. I was thinking like, oh, that I want to hear something that sounds good, and I end up asking the what's your favorite dish question, which is like a no now.
I do love lemon granita too, but my favorite one is in Sicily. My God, like at Cafe Sicilia in Noto, southern Sicily. Very famous pastry chef there, Corrado Senza, and I can't really explain it because the citrus is so different in Sicily because of the terroir that it
Yeah.
is, the volcanic activity, the ocean, everything. That's where it is on the planet. Um, and the citrus from there is like it's like land of the lost. You're like, oh my God, I've never even seen all these citrus fruit, you know? and and then the lemon granita is something that, like, first time I tasted it, I went there in like 2020 in the fall, and I think it was 2020. Now I don't even remember. It's like such a black hole, but like 2020 or 2021. And but I tasted this lemon granita and felt like I had been transported to another time, and I had this
Man,
kind of moment of like Ratatouille or something. I was just like, wait a minute, I've been here before, and I'm like, but no, I have not, and I'm like, but I have. And I'm like, and I just don't know how to explain it, but I was like, I felt like
I love that you
some
use
out
Land
of
of the
body
Lost as a
experience from it.
reference because my generation, I'm like, that makes sense to me. I got the picture of exactly. It's a completely different universe. Like
Yeah.
you thought you knew, but now you just don't know. This is a completely different kind of citrus.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just like there are so many citrus fruits there, and it's why it's in the Amaro, it's in non-alcoholic sodas and stuff there. You know, the Kinoto orange is this very specific orange. I was just reading about a red lemon today from Sicily, and I was like, I don't remember seeing that one. And I just yeah, it's got to be about the unique flavor of that particular citrus.
I went to Sicily once. I was 8. I obviously did not appreciate any of that, and I was like thinking, like as an adult now,
You got to go
who
back.
loves good? Oh yeah, I got a to do
Yeah.
list when I go. Okay, we have 3 quick questions. The last of the 3. A kitchen tool you absolutely cannot live without.
Well, I mean, a good chef knife. It's really everything.
That is true. Most people
I
say that.
love
So,
lots of little tools. I do, but really, and I used to always say mortar and pestle to that question. But
oh, okay,
I can figure out how to make a mortar and pestle out of other things too. So, like, because not everybody has a mortar and pestle in their house,
true.
and I'm not talking about those teeny ones that they give me on cooking competitions. I'm like,
The
this is
big,
not a thing. Like
the
nobody
big
makes
lava stone
spice
one. Yeah,
mixtures in these things, especially in 2 seconds. We were like trying to get the peppers, then they were flying
you use like
everywhere.
2 little fingers holding it. Like, what is this stupid?
Like just kills
We
me.
have a
They're like,
gentleman. He
you're
runs
on
a,
the
a
wheel,
Mexican food
Guy
truck
Fieri.
here.
Like it's mortar and pestle. I'm like, that's not a mortar and pestle. I don't even know if this is like a Tiddlywinks version.
Tiddlywinks. It's for Smurf size one.
That's a
All
different
right, so
show.
to the theme we were talking about before the lightning round, when you're like making us all want to drink, talking about some of those great cocktails. If you had a empty glass and a giant rock ice cube in a perfect world, what are you pouring over that ice? And you
Of
can't say your
course.
stuff because you can't
Ah,
say
I
your
was
stuff.
like, oh,
No,
it's
no.
so easy.
Okay, so the number 2 thing you would pour over that ice if it wasn't something from tomorrow, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be a specific brand. It could just be a type of
Is it just one spirit or is it a Like, can I just make up a cocktail for you?
one spirit on the rocks.
Okay.
I'll let you follow up with a cocktail, but I got to have that one spirit on the rocks.
Well,
And you can just be broad, like a specific, like a type of spirit, or you can be very specific, like label, brand, exactly, whatever you want.
I don't really actually drink a lot of spirits in this way, just like on the
Okay.
rocks. It's not my thing. I mean, because but I do think tasting a spirit neat and then on the rocks is a really interesting way to taste the spirit. So I mean, I'm
Then
not
in
going to
that
sit
case,
down and
I will let you
enjoy
go
that. I'm more
cocktail
of a
if that's
taster.
how you enjoy it. Go cocktail.
Okay, because I'm like I can't give you a really specific answer
Look, you're
because I would
killing
never
me,
go to a
Dino.
bar
I
and
don't
order
drink that way.
that.
Cocktail it is.
I do have like a favorite combination of a cocktail that does not involve our spirits. Um, and kind of based on my time in New York.
Okay.
And so and yeah, so it's I love cucumber juice and creme de violette and gin. I'm trying to think of and lemon juice together in a cocktail with one big spear of ice. And there was a cocktail at the Dead Rabbit that used to make, and I've got to think of what the cocktail's called. But it was absolutely my favorite cocktail there. Um, it's so specific, that creme de violette, which tastes like violets, tastes like almost like a violet
Mm.
candy. But with a nice gin. Really don't remember what they used, but with the cucumber juice and lemon juice, it was just so like refreshing. I love it had a little bit of absinthe, and I do love
Ooh.
absinthe. I
Okay.
love I love fennel and licorice, so I do love cocktails with absinthe. A Corpse Reviver is a great cocktail. It's a little boozy, but it's really good.
Well, obviously,
Corpse
that
Reviver
wouldn't
too.
bother me. I'm all talking about drinking on rocks. So yeah. When you started describing that, it sounded refreshing was the word that was coming to my mind. But then you mentioned absinthe, and you and I've been on the same page this whole time, but I gotta veer away. That's not my jam. And maybe it's because I've only tried really crappy fake stuff, like spelled wrong.
Well,
It's
it's
not
pretty
my stuff.
intense. I mean, like if you don't
Yeah.
really, yeah, I think I would assume that one has to have an experience in their younger drinking years that would make them excited about all
Yeah.
that Pernod flavor. I'm somebody who has really liked that flavor since I was a kid. I love black
Mm,
licorice.
okay.
But then I also, when I worked at that little bistro Cafe Claude, a lot of people would come in and have Pernod like they do in France on the rocks with
Sure.
um lemon and simple syrup, and on ice. And I just thought, I think, and same with ouzo. I love ouzo, which
That's
is
yeah.
an
See, I'm
anise
veering the other
liqueur. Yeah,
direction. Yeah.
yeah. But you're Mediterranean, like this. It should be in your bloodstream already.
There's a whole bad story about my brother-in-law learning I was Lebanese when I first started dating my wife, and he got a bottle of arak,
Ah,
passed it around the
yeah.
fire, and
Well, see, that's dangerous.
I kept drinking it because I'm trying to impress the older soon-to-be brother-in-law. I
And
did not know
now
that
you can't get that taste out of your mouth.
everyone around the circle was not actually drinking it. They were plugging it with their thumb, and I'm kept. It was a bad night. It's a bad night.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
yeah, but I'm always willing to try something again. So I'm gonna pay attention to that recipe and see what I can do.
Yeah, and also like I think something like absinthe or Pernod, works. You don't need a lot
Yeah.
in a cocktail to give it that flavor. And sometimes it's just like a little spritz of it, and it's like, ooh, it's like got something cooling. It's a cooling thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so the 20-something-year-old Dino drinking arak out of the bottle was not a good idea, is what you're saying. No.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
Jägermeister moment for a lot of people.
Last question, and this one you feel free to think about. If you could enjoy a bottle of wine with anybody ever, living or in the past, who would it be and what would the wine be? And you can be as specific or vague with the wine as you want. It could be a varietal or a very specific bottle.
My goodness. Well, let me think about
Yeah, this
the
one you can ponder
person,
on.
but like I just had a wine that I mean, I spent this extra time in Emilia, and Piemonte, but I had a wine in Bologna that I'd never heard of before, called Pignoletto.
Okay.
And it was, a lot of wines in that whole region, in that whole sort of middle northern region, have like Lambrusco, have a sparkling.
Yeah.
They're not champagne and they're not Franciacorta or Prosecco, but they have a sparkling, whatever grape it is. So, like in that whole region where there's lots of Lambrusco. And Lambrusco, I like some different ones a lot, and I had some different ones there, but I like this Pignoletto because it's a white um grape that's got a lot of pininess, and I like pine notes in wine a lot too. I love very clean, mineral, dry white wines,
Okay.
and I like that in red wine too. I like drier, not so fruity, really easy to drink with like food, friendly wines. So, and I would have a hard time saying, picking out white or red, depending on what I was eating. So you can't just sit there and expect me to not think of the food that goes with the wine.
Oh my
Um,
God.
but that I know
You are
you're
such
like,
a chef.
not a flash question. But I think that piñoletta was quite delicious, and I would definitely share that with. Now I was thinking of somebody recently that I'm like, the answer to these questions that you guys always ask. And I was thinking that they weren't alive anymore, but I was like, that would be and now I can't remember who that is. So, because like it's always like 10 people that you would invite to a dinner
Right,
party,
right.
and I mean, there's just so many interesting people in the world. I wish Julia Child could come back, and I met her one time,
Oh, did you?
and talked, and she grabbed my hand and said, "This is the most delicious apple tart," and talked about how great the spun sugar was with the crisp, cold green apple sorbet.
I
And
feel like
so
that's a
that would be
drop
a
the
really
mic, walk out the room kind of moment. Julie Child, just my apple tart.
it
I'm
would
out.
be fun to sit with her, or Marion Cunningham. She's not alive anymore either, but she was a friend of mine, and she was a friend of James Beard, and I really liked her a lot. She used to live in the Bay Area, and really also just always like made a point of she took me out to lunch to Chez Panisse when I was like in my 20s, and she was 70 something, and she just liked to hear what I wanted to talk about around food. And like I hope that I can be that for younger people, because she was always just so wonderful to talk with about recipes and why people. I'd argue with her about, she'd say that Crisco did have a place in pie making, and that was just her era. Because I was like, no, I don't think so. I think it's really about butter. And so, but fun to talk with, about food stuff.
Food lovers debate: butter versus Crisco over a glass of wine.
Yeah,
There you go.
and I do love lard in a dough too. 'Cause especially just being in Amelia. I mean, I had a savory pie there that I have to tell you about, called erbazzone, and it's almost like the Italian version of maybe like the spanakopita, the Greek version with
Okay,
phyllo dough. But
okay,
the dough is made with a little bit of pork fat and olive oil and water and flour, and you roll it out thin, and you make a mixture of greens and some lardon, so some cured pork lardo, whatever, and cook that with some onions and add that to the greens, and it could be chard, could be spinach, could be a mixture of things like spanakopita, and then there's Parmigiano Reggiano in it, of course, because this is the region, and then
right.
it's you put another layer of the dough on top. The whole thing has olive oil in the bottom of the dough and on top, and some salt, and then you bake it, and it's this amazing, savory pie, perfect with
Yeah,
that wine. That's what I would cook.
I was not hungry a half hour ago or 30. Now I need to pour a cocktail and eat. 'Cause
That's
listening to
right.
you talk. Um, no, but I feel you because that we were just both there in that region. You're naming these ingredients, and I'm like, "Ah," it's bringing back all kinds of memories from that trip. Okay, so that was the most complicated of the lightning round questions. That was an excellent answer. Thank you very much. Very
Okay.
specific in that wine.
Sorry.
A sparkling white limber. Oh, this is yeah. Now I got to go eat something. Um,
But see, as soon as we talk the next time and I've come back from Puglia, I'll have a completely different list of favorite ingredients.
okay, so my goal is that conversation is going to be in person, watching soccer, uh, somewhere near a pool,
That's
drinking
right.
the your version of the margarita. There you go.
That sounds
I
great.
love that. Chef, thank you so much. This was a ton of fun. When we go off on all these great food tangents, it was a fantastic conversation. It
Love
was
it.
a pleasure meeting you, even though it was two dimensions. It was nice to meet you. Hope you are recovering quickly and can get out and kick the soccer ball around a little bit instead of just watch it. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds good.
but yes, thank you. Thank you for joining. I hope it's the first of many conversations.
Thank you so much, Dino.